long string coming across, but
Yeah.
still one way
Yeah. Oh, well.
and not looking as if it's, from what I can see, anytime soon that they're gonna, they just keep piddling at
I
the,
can't see what they're doing.
I can't either.
Oh, well.
Of course, I don't have much time to look. When my wife and I are driving, she always says, "Look at that." And I said, "No, I'm looking at the road."
I think that's why. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and start us here.
Okay.
And Jeff said he would be along shortly. So you have an opportunity to ask whatever you'd like.
Darn it. I forgot my list.
I always recommend writing down.
No, I really don't have any questions.
Okay.
It all crops up in the doing. I think I have a decent understanding of what I'm supposed to do,
Mhm.
but
Okay. Well, since it's just you for the moment, why don't you do the 8 gates and I'm going to just watch you today.
so, um, when I come back, I've been coming to here and then back out. No,
And also, this should be a little higher. You're holding it here.
okay,
It really should be up in front of the face.
okay,
And when you go from Qian to Kun, remember that you want go up and out a little so that you have you can round that corner and then come in.
okay.
Get a name. So when you've done the heart, that all of the transitions do not go in
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah,
They go in this way and then out. And this one comes in to the side channel and out, not into the center and out.
I was aware of it after I did it incorrectly.
Ah,
Because I kept thinking, oh, well, I've been doing it for years, bringing them in. And, what occurred to me this morning.
the other thing, I say going from this to the middle dantian, allow yourself to really have the wrist connection and then open.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sort of the finding the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I recognize that I've been trying to find the middle on the others, but not necessarily that one. I don't,
yeah, okay.
maybe because
I
it's
mean,
different kind of.
it's
But,
coming though. Morning, Jeff.
Morning. Hi, Bill.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. We're fine. We just
Okay.
went ahead since you were delayed.
Yeah, well, that's good. I was listening to what you were just saying to Bill. Helpful.
That's good. So since I did that to Bill, I guess I'll do it to you as well. Would you stand up and do the 8 gates?
I don't think of it as you're doing it to me, but I know you're just kidding.
Must admit I'm not seeing terribly well today, I guess. Um,
Okay. Is it the connection or just your eyes or what?
I think it's a little of both. Um,
Okay.
the one thing that came across to me was that I wanted to say, relax your shoulders and drop your elbows more.
Oh, okay.
Keep keep letting that occur. Um,
Okay.
I think the ones that were most evident to me were Shen Thunder and the last one, the middle Dantian. Um,
Right.
let um, you want to keep trying to get those shoulders to release
Hmm.
because the energy can't flow very well through them if you tense them up.
Right.
So you're constantly trying to find where is the best where can I let go of my shoulders? Which is
Right.
why, for instance, oh, you can't see me with with this way. So let me um, so for instance, in in um, in doing the closing, uh,
Yeah.
notice that my elbows are dropped. They're not here, they're here.
Right.
And when I come into center, they're dropping. They're not going down like this,
Okay. Right.
going down like this, which which allows the energy to flow between the spine and the fingers.
Right.
Um, so just
Okay.
just something to work on. I could you see? Did he come into center some? Yeah. So there was some. I thought there was some tendency in the transitions to let your hands come into the middle. Remember that they're really coming into the side channels and then
Okay.
into the new position.
I was laughing
Right.
just because I did the same thing this morning.
Right.
Same
Yeah.
direction.
It's an easy thing. It's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't even say whether I've always done that or I just got progressively more lazy about it or whatever, but yeah.
No laziness. Practice, practice, practice. Either of you have
Okay.
what?
I was just gonna say this is helpful to point these things out because what I'm mostly focusing on now is just doing less movement and trying to make it all in as much of it as possible internal.
Yep.
But I'm not focusing on the things like that I still need to, like my shoulders, like coming into the middle and things like that. So this is helpful for that.
Yeah, good. Either of you have any questions in there?
No,
Okay. Um, there was something I wanted to say about what we did last week. Something we did last week.
On the form or?
Oh, in the form. In one of the things to remember that we're always looking for the curve in everything. And I realized that in talking about um, the chop down that I said I heard myself say to you, it's straight down. Well,
right,
no, it's not exactly straight down. It is pretty straight down, but
right,
but there should be some curve to it. So there's a little curve in that movement. Yeah.
Are both, I've always done a little curve with the left hand, sort of a brushing away curve, in to out. But
I know, and
what about the fist?
Remember I mentioned
What about
to
the
you,
fist hand?
I mentioned to
Maybe
you that
towards me.
that's not the movement we're trying to make here. That this is a pushing down movement
Right.
rather than a pushing away movement.
Okay. Can you do it facing me so I can see more where your curve is that you're doing in there?
But the curve is here. If I do it this way, I don't know that you can that you'll see the curve, but I'm willing to do
Okay.
it for you.
Um, show me. Can you show me again where the curve is? My connection isn't great. I think that's part of the problem.
I'm sorry.
My connection isn't great. You kind of there's as you've seen going back this way. There's an occasional stop and start, stop
Do
and
you want me
start.
to make this larger?
Yeah, do it a little bit larger just for demonstration.
So what I'm saying is that it's not straight down,
Right.
but rather as you've gone into this, you've bent in and then it actually goes out and in a little. And it's very slight. You have to feel it more than it's a big visual.
Right.
Can you see it?
Yes, yeah, it's more toward just down there as it comes in just a little bit,
Well, if you look at, let me go back to this one.
Mhm.
So we get here and everything comes in and then we have that curve going down. No?
Yeah.
It what I was really only emphasizing this because I realized that I had said to you it's straight down.
Right.
And I didn't, because I had said that, I wanted to make sure you understood that it's not just straight down, because you have the bending in and the extending out.
Yeah, you have to do a kind of contortion to make it absolutely straight down. You have
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, would be a little more difficult.
yeah.
Can you see that, Jeff?
Probably not clearly enough. When you say the curve, you're saying the curve of your body continuing its rounded movement. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, yes, there's a curve in your body, but I'm really talking about the arms and doing a movement that, and I'm overemphasizing here, that's doing this.
Okay. All right.
All right.
It
Now I see. Yeah, that's
seems
what I
shallow.
needed to see was the overemphasis on it.
It's very shallow.
Yeah.
The curve is really, if I don't move my body, which is kind of is not the movement we're doing, but the curve is just a little one, very
Right.
simple,
Okay. All right.
only because you don't want it to be straight. That's not what we're doing.
Right.
We're not
Okay.
doing karate, we're doing Tai Chi.
Right.
So you have to constantly find that curve. Do you have,
Okay.
either of you have other form questions that have come up in all your practice this week?
Nothing new. No new questions. Just some things I need to remember that we've discussed already. That's all.
Okay.
Actually, something occurred to me yesterday or the day before.
Uh-huh.
This form is fairly upright
Mhm.
and minimalistic,
Yeah.
and what I've been concentrating on more and more is rounding everything, and that seems to conflict in my practice with staying upright. I find myself, and I'm saying, well, no, that's not gonna look right. Or be right, So, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, because I've been there, done that.
Okay.
Um, in terms of its of being upright, if you will,
Okay.
and small,
Yeah.
you have to let that grow out of your practice. So in other words, as with all of the things that we do, it has to start large, because that's where that's where it is. You have to learn the movement. So it begins with big, for this form, large movements. But it doesn't need all of that. Eventually, it gets, I'm sure, even smaller than this, but I've just done exactly the same thing, but smaller.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that, even probably a couple of years ago. But it came out of practice.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Guilty is charged.
What?
Guilty is charged.
One of the things that I have seen people who suggest that becoming more internal and smaller means movements that don't have anything necessarily to do with the original form, which I think is an error.
Okay.
I think it becomes smaller and smaller, and if I'm to extend that, as Master Joe suggested, the movements might be that much. That they become very internal, but they aren't absent. And so all of that is happening just as we have talked about with the 8 gates, that you can twist and you can bend and extend, and you can lengthen in and lengthen out, and you don't have a lot of movement. but it's all happening.
Yeah, that's a good analogy for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So the same thing eventually happens with the form, but it's much more complex than doing the gates. You don't have that, certainly have some repetition, but in this, but not a whole lot. There's some in the form, but
David,
yeah.
related to this, a very basic question, but one that I actually don't think I know the answer to is, as we, in any of our Tai Chi practice, it seems our goal is to have smaller physical movement, more internal movement of the energy. But why is increased internal movement of the energy dependent upon, increasing that internal movement dependent upon decreasing the physical movement? Why can't we continue the physical movement while still increasing the internal?
It is not dependent on that. That would be, you're absolutely correct. However, what is being suggested here, and if you and you have to, unfortunately, I can't really demonstrate it, although Rick Barrett can to some extent, but my experience with a couple of other masters certainly showed it to me, is that larger movement is not necessary in order to have the power of the energy.
Right.
Or to use the power of the energy. So I'm losing his name now, but the guy I know I've talked about, that I had that I only actually spent one weekend with him in a workshop, but he lives out in the, I'm not sure, he was living in the West Coast in Canada. I'm not sure where he is right now, but he was the one who we, just by touching the back of our wrists, he could throw me into a chair. He didn't have to make any physical movement.
Right.
So that's the kind of effect that we're endeavoring to arrive at in terms of the use of the power. In other words, not being dependent on the physical movement. Yes, you could still do it with a large physical movement, no question, but you're not dependent on it.
Right. Okay. And I'm not, I'm certainly not arguing to retain larger physical movement. I'm just wondering if there is actually a correlation between decreasing that physical movement and increasing the potential to increase our internal movement.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I'm certainly not at that level.
Right.
I can't, I suppose, can't say definitively, but my experience with masters who had arrived at that level would
Right.
indicate to me that is the case.
Okay. I don't know if it's the same guy you were talking about, but I do remember many years ago you showed us some video of a guy who was doing that basically. And I think it was a guy from Western Canada, if I recall, but I forget, I can't remember his name either.
I'm blanking on his name. I can see him in my mind, but
it was very impressive. Yeah, it was very impressive what he could do. And driving people down and sending them flying and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was that weekend many years ago. I'm not, I'd have to, I would say it could probably at least 25 years ago.
Right.
That suddenly I understood about the energy and its power because I
Right.
could feel it. Um,
Was this the same guy who could take a staff and make the end of it shake just by holding it
no, that was
with his
somebody
energy?
else. That
That was
was
somebody
another
else.
one.
Okay. But that was impressive also, obviously.
That was somebody I saw at the Tai Chi farm, a guy from, I think he was from China actually, that
Yeah.
had come over for the Jiangxin Feng Festival that Master Joe
Right.
held every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see he had a regular staff
Yeah, yeah.
and he could extend it and the energy would make the staff ripple.
Mm.
If you ever heard a room filled with like 100 people suddenly go absolutely still.
Right. And then we were doing the staff form back then too, so it was particularly impressive to see that because I couldn't even envision having that kind of power to put that energy all the way through the staff like that. It was
No,
very, very impressive.
yep. Well, everybody's energetic
All
body
right.
extend out further than we think they do. But some people's are stronger than others.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
anyway, um, so if you don't have any question, um, I guess what we should do is one at a time flow up to where we are.
Okay.
We had turned and gone into the chop with the blade.
Right. Okay.
Bill's going to go first.
Yeah, I'm gonna go also and practice while he does that.
Oh, that's fine. That,
I threw in a few strange things just to keep you busy. I don't know where they come from.
well, I don't either. Um, after you've done embrace, you quite rarely I've begun to do this more myself. You came in here, but you didn't turn back for the step because that gives you this movement. So you have to turn back to the right and make that step in order to have this application. And then up into,
I recognize that.
okay. Wave hands is coming. The one thing I'm seeing, well, two things I would say. One is keep the hands in front of the body. Not over here, not over here. And when you're going to the right, that right foot makes two specific turns that seem to have gotten lost.
Okay.
So you step out here, and then the left foot turns back on its heel, the right turns on its toe, drops the heel, which allows you to get a little more rotation. And then it turns in to allow you to be able to step out and make this movement. Okay. So that.
Okay. I'm aware that I've been reducing the movement of the toe and heel.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever turned it in coming back.
Aha. Well, that will make it
Yeah,
much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry if that didn't make that clear.
Also, I realized I stopped the ball a couple of times.
Well,
for whatever reason,
yeah. When you're doing wave hands, so going back to the first one, what do you think is happening there? If you were to think about it martially, what's going on?
Probably somebody.
Well, very likely, you're getting you may be deflecting them and then taking them back out, and then coming back in between their arms. That would be one of the simple things to think of it doing. And so that's why at this point you have the twist in. Notice that I'm just on the sidelines of the body. I'm not in the center. And then they're separating their arms. So you can go into this movement or whatever the next movement is. Depends on where you are in the form. That help in this particular form, the martial applications are not as apparent. And so obviously a number of things. You could be pulling this person across and then sending them away. I mean, you could be doing a movement, like that.
Mm.
Um, but maybe you're catching them here and letting, and they're coming in and you're sending them out away from you. You have to be creative about
Okay,
what might be going on.
well, as you know, I don't tend to think of the martial application, but it's always helpful in visualizing what's supposed to be
Yeah,
going on, yeah.
you don't have to think about using this
Yeah,
as a martial art.
yeah.
Um, for it to be effective in other ways
Yes.
in your life. But sometimes that awareness is a real help.
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks ago, I asked about what the cart and the horse, the martial came first, and then evolved into
Yeah,
what we know as the form, so it's underneath everything.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the Tai Chi postures could be seen in martial training in the armies in China in the 800s. So long before even Tai Chi was specifically recognized as a separate art. So yeah, the martial certainly is the root. Yeah. Okay. Did you have any other questions? I didn't mean.
No, but I am gonna get to leave fairly promptly today, so, I have enough time, to watch stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
You have to leave at 11:15, or you have to leave earlier.
a little bit earlier, yeah.
Okay.
PT appointment.
Oh. That could be good. Those are what I wanted. There we go. Turn that off. It's a switch.
Yeah. Got one myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Switch direction.
You're right. Your connection is not great. Kind of jerky today.
Yeah, I know it goes both ways too, which is why I have trouble seeing you sometimes. I know it's not on your end. I gotta at some point switch from satellite cable to uh, other satellite internet rather to other.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
Yeah. Um, from as much as I could see, it looks to me like you're doing pretty well. Were there any particular places you had questions?
I'm still working on keeping my hands from crossing center in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Um, especially wave hands. It's always I always seem to cross over a little bit with my right, especially. But
Yep.
that's one thing I'm trying to make the movements a bit smaller, but also still do everything that we're trying to do with them and move the energy. So
Yeah.
it's just slow process of trying to focus on different things and with each flow, not try not to remember everything at once, but focus on one or two things on a particular flow, and then on the next one try and do a little bit focus on other things. And but I don't, as far as specific movements, I don't have any other questions right now.
Yeah. One of the things I would say is not to try to make the movements smaller, but to allow that to grow out of your practice.
Okay.
It's like everything else. We're trying to learn to let go
Right.
and not to just do it intellectually.
Mm.
And that's hard for us.
Yeah.
So
I do it for in any given flow. I seem to do it more so in spots where it just everything feels good and I could feel the energy increase between my hands and the connection. And it goes for a few postures, and then I'm kind of back to being a bit more cerebral again.
yeah,
So it comes in flashes.
yeah, absolutely. You're not strange or unusual.
Right.
And yet you are.
And yet I certainly am, yes.
Um, so where is your schedule here? Do you need?
Oh,
Yeah, it's 11 now.
Okay. No, Bill needs to go.
Yeah, that's fine. I
Well,
think I'm satisfied. This was a good
I
class.
worked a bit with him first, before
Yeah.
you came. I could work with you a bit.
Fine. It'll be on video anyway, so.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
have a good PT.
yeah, we're gonna work on balance.
Aha, that's a good thing. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
All right, take care, Bill.
You, Jeff. Have a good week.
You too. Well, is there anything in particular you think we should talk about, David?
Um,
You want to see me do or anything in particular?
well, why don't you do wave hands? I couldn't see your feet, of course.
I I saw what you were talking about with Bill, and I've always done the right foot correctly, as far as the two part on the turn. And actually, I did want to ask you just real briefly. I mean, that's the only place I could think of that we've ever done that step in any of the forms that I've ever done.
Yep.
What is the reason that we do it in this form, even though we've had other wave hands and other postures? Is it just to ease the flow, or is there an energetic reason
Well,
for it?
yeah, it allows you to make the rotations as much as your quads will allow,
Right.
without interrupting the flow of the energy.
Hmm.
I mean, if you clearly, oh, you can't see anything if I, so. So just, if you just, if you don't do that,
Right.
then how far you can turn is going to be limited by how far your qua will release. And
Right.
mine has gotten pretty limited, particularly after the sciatica attack I had.
Right.
And the difference is that when you can make that step, that allows you to turn a lot further there. And even on this side, the turn that you're making with the foot allows you to go further in that direction.
Okay.
So it really is a practical it's a practical move in order to be
Right.
able to do those movements a little more fully.
All right. So that was my question. Was it more practical, or was there an actual energetic reason whereby doing it that way
Well,
helps to increase?
for me, I feel that doing that does release the energy more too,
Huh.
as well as
Okay.
the physical movement.
Okay. Can you see my feet there?
No, not really. Sorry. That's a little better.
All right. So I'm trying to go into wave hands. I'm forgetting where I'm coming out of.
Down and under.
Okay.
So it looks to me like with your right foot that you're only rotating on the heel.
No, I am doing the toe first. It's probably
Okay.
just hard to see, but I'm definitely doing the toe first.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I just wanted to double
Hard
check.
to see between the stopping and starting and the angle and the color of my sock and the carpet, but I am definitely doing that.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, I think I know what I need to be doing there. It's just keeping the flow and the rotation. And I'm also still very much trying to work on my fingers in that and relaxing and then
Yeah,
extending as the energy. I'm trying to make that an unconscious part of it, and I still have to think about that.
yeah,
As the ball rotates and all that, I'm still trying to integrate all of that along with the footwork.
yeah.
But I think I understand what I need to be doing, and I hit it sometimes, and
Hmm.
there are times when I do just what I did now, is to just flow back and forth for a few minutes, just doing that one posture. So
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. Um,
yeah, it feels good to do that too, actually.
you
So,
can also go back in the eight gates and go back to doing a fuller movement because that is a really easy place to work on all of those elements and
right,
coordinating them together.
yeah,
Um, and the and the getting it to be actual twisting and not just rotating is a important
yeah,
step.
right. Right.
Um,
I'm definitely still got a lot of work to do with that.
um, and then, eventually, the final step of that is spiraling, not um, not even stopping with twisting, but going beyond that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, well, it's just so you won't get bored.
Well, thank you for considering that. I appreciate it. I cannot get bored, that's for sure.
Well, you not in your life. You got a busy
No,
one.
not in my life. But
Things.
yeah, 20 whatever years later, 20 gosh, 26 years later, I'm still completely I don't want to say a novice, but I realize that there's far, far, far more to know than I currently know now. So I'm continue to be amazed and excited and enticed by Tai Chi, even though I don't practice nearly as much as I would love to. So
Well,
that's where I'm
as that one master said, you can't possibly learn everything you need to know in one lifetime.
at. No, that is for sure.
Oh
But it's good to try though.
yeah, you want to do the best you can for the one
Right.
you're in.
That's it. The Master Joe, make a little progress every day. Do your best.
Right, right.
Good attitude.
How's the boy?
Yeah, everything is good. He's more than past halfway of his first grade year and doing well. It's
Good.
yeah, it's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge to be raising him, and it's everything I hoped it would be. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm just very blessed to have him.
Oh, good. How's
Yeah,
Kate doing?
yeah, pretty well. She's working at a Starbucks and
Uh,
likes that job. And
oh, good.
she and Jesse will be visiting her family in Australia again this summer for like 8 weeks, just like last year, and that went well.
Uh-huh.
So
Good.
we'll be making those plans soon. But it's during his summer break. Most of his summer break will be spent there.
Yeah.
So that's good. It'll give me time
Yeah.
to get caught up on other things in life here that fall behind when I'm taking care of him every day. So it'll be
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
he'll
Oh, good.
okay. All right, and you're okay? Good, things are good
Oh,
on your end?
I'm doing well at the moment.
Good. Okay.
Thank you. Well,
All right, David.
have a good week.
You too. We'll see you next Tuesday. Take
Okay.
care. All
You
right.
too.
See
Bye-bye.
you soon. Bye bye.